What's up? How's it
Hello,
going?
everyone. It is Sunday night, and that means it is time for another episode of Explain Yourself with myself, Benjamin Morse, and Joey Galvez.
I
And
feel,
we
I
have
feel
some
like
great
I feel like
creators to
every
talk
time I
to.
jump in, I'm like too loud for you. Like it's like you're the opposite of my me coming in and your energy, and like everybody just doesn't understand it.
No, all good. All good.
How's it going, man?
This is the highlight of my week. I'm so excited to talk about other comics. And we have some great creators to talk to today. So we have Robert Kirsch from Turn the Camera Terrors and Blake McCarthy from the Comic Territory. So, guys, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Very cool. Same. Very excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
All right, cool. So I think the best way to start would be Robert. We want to talk. We generally just talk about like the campaigns you have ongoing. So give us the 30-second pitch for your comic.
So my comic is called Turner Family Terrors. I'm the writer-creator of it. And the best way that I describe it is think The Simpsons meets Hellboy. It is about a sweet suburban but utterly dysfunctional family, the Turner family, and they are tasked with saving the world from a ragtag gang of monster morons. It has a little bit of a Scooby-Doo look to it. The jokes are like a Rick and Morty or South Park. And I would say our biggest influence is Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. It's that classic horror monster black and white look crossed with an over-the-top absurd comedy. And and I'm excited to get in depth and go through it, and excited to be here.
Awesome. And Blake, let's switch over to you really quick. Give us the 30-second sort of elevator pitch for Territory.
Yeah, so Territory is a post-apocalyptic kaiju epic, and it's basically it's sometime in a far distant future where most of humanity has been wiped out, and whatever happened caused these creatures called behemoths to rise up, and they're the kaiju, and the people that survive live in tribes, and they worship the different kaiju as gods. So it follows one girl, one member of a tribe, kind of in her journey with her kaiju, and as they meet other tribes and other kaiju.
Cool. Awesome to see. So let's jump back over to Robert. So give me a little bit more information. And actually, if you want to share your screen and just take us through the campaign.
Yeah, sure.
Turner Family Terrors. There's some great artwork there that we'd be excited to share.
Let me see. Let's see if I can do share screen. And so are you guys seeing this now?
We are.
Cool. So we are, this is the 4th issue of our series. We have been on Kickstarter for 2.5 weeks. I think we did a 24-day campaign this time. It's been going really well. We funded in 48 hours, and we're on to stretch goals right now. We have, I think we've gotten through 2 stretch goals, and we have a 3rd stretch goal coming up. We're handing out stickers, but I'm just going to scroll through the page here and take a look at some of the artwork. This is our variant cover by Kyle Roberts and colored by Wes Hartman. So we have a variant cover, we have our main cover, and we have a Kickstarter exclusive cover. Our main cover is drawn by Easton Hawk. He is a kind of a master of American cryptid artwork. And this is his 3rd cover for us. He did issue 2, 3, and now 4. And then a buddy of mine is Christy Shin, who does Demon Bitch. And she did our Kickstarter exclusive cover. And scrolling through, I noticed a few things here. So our stretch goals, at 4,000, we like supersized our comic, and at 4,500, everybody got a special thanks in our digital book PDF, and we're handing out free stickers at 5,000, and we have kind of a cool mid-campaign bonus that we unlocked for a couple weeks, and it is a 10 bonus indie comics for any backer, even at $1. So you can check out the page, and back at any tier, you can see some cool books. And I love doing this because I love highlighting some of my friends and other indie creators and getting their books in our backers' hands. And this expires this upcoming Friday. So let me see a few other things with the page. We've got some cool quotes from some other friends of mine. Clay Adams, he's doing his book is on Kickstarter now, Prodigal Son, and he said, "Well crafted and hilarious. I love the hell out of this book." And so I don't know if you guys know Clay.
Is that the one that's connected with the guy from Cobra Kai?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I thought. All right. I'm
yeah. So Clay wrote, like, I think it's my favorite comic called Dead Skins, and cool. It is a Western comedy. But I kind of joke around with him that this is the sequel to Dead Skins, this Prodigal Son. It's not. This is a different kind of book. It looks amazing. But yeah, so he's on Kickstarter right now too, and he is a good buddy of mine. So I'm just scrolling down through some of our artwork here. So our book is kind of it's kind of over the top. It's pretty absurd. And let me see. What's cool about this issue is that it is our fourth book, and it is the fourth issue of a 4-issue miniseries. So this is a story that I wrote 5 years ago, mm-hmm. And it was my first graphic novel. And for me, I have been trying to reach what I thought is sort of a finish line for me, or get to a certain point of finishing the book. And like right now, this for us with the release of issue 4, it's kind of a big deal. It's like a big deal professionally and personally for me, kind of getting through the pandemic, and just the last 5 years have been, a roller coaster for everybody. So it's pretty cool to get to this point with Turner Family Terrors. A few things I have in here, like if you love insane comedies like The Boys or Everything Everywhere All at Once, Cocaine Bear, Monster Squad, Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein, this book's for you. It also has a good bit of like family-driven comedy, similar to like National Lampoon's Vacation, The Simpsons, Schitt's Creek. I'm a big fan of Mike Mignola, so I definitely bring a lot of that myth and monster folklore into the book. And I'm also a big fan of black and white comics, Creepy Eerie, Walking Dead, Eisner's A Contract with God. So yeah, I just kind of try to bring all that into the book. Scrolling down here.
Well, definitely looking at the Kickstarter page, like there's a lot of like Magnolia meets like 1950s era creepy or eerie comics. So it's really cool. I think the artwork definitely reflects that, and your main cover images are really strong.
Thank you. Yeah, we put a lot of time into designing our covers, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work with some amazing artists, and this is the second variant cover we did with Kyle Roberts. He illustrated The Blazing Blade of Frankenstein, as well as what was his other? He did some stuff for a Nightmare Theater anthology, and I have been a fan of Easton's work for a while. He does a lot of pinups for just various American cryptid folklore monsters, the Loveland Frogman, the Mothman of West Virginia. And so I try to bring some of that work that he does with the American folklore cryptids and kind of interweave that into some of the monsters that are in my book. And
That's really cool. Really
and
cool.
yeah, and so I'll just hit a couple of rewards real quick. We've got a pretty cool digital reward. It's our Creators Edition digital, where you can get all 4 issues of the comic. It's 120 plus pages of Turner Family Terrors, and we have a 100+ page behind the scenes creators process pack. So it's something like 350 plus pages of our PDF for like $15. And right now, for a few more days, you can get that, and then you can also get 10 digital indie comics as a bonus. So it's a pretty good deal. And then we've got all our covers on there. And what's cool also is that since this is our 4th issue, and some people are just discovering our series right now, we've got a lot of catch-up tiers where you can get all the standard covers. You can also get the variant covers. And I've been lucky. I've been in 2 anthologies over the past year or two. One of them was the Nightmare Theater 2 anthology, as well as the Concrete Arcanum. And so we have Turner Family Terror short stories that are in those anthologies. And so you can get those as well. And yeah, you can get a cameo illustration in the book. And we always like to sort of have fun with Kickstarter, because we're dealing with comics. And so this is ours is a comedy and family comedy. So I always throw some funny things in there. Every year, my daughter gives me a haircut. It's our Turner Family Terror haircut. And so this year she's going to shave my head. She's older now. We've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. So she's like 9. So she says she's going to shave it all off, and she's into makeup right now too. So I think she's going to give me a makeover. And we always have 1 or 2 sadistic backers out there who pick this stuff. So awesome. Yeah, and we have T-shirts for the first time this year, which I'm excited about. I'm getting my samples of T-shirts in the mail in a few days, so I'll have my first Turner Family Terror T-shirts. And yeah, we've got a great crew. I saw that Blake is editor. Is Nicole D'Andrea still? Is she the editor of your book, Blake?
Yes. Yep, she's still on it, and she is awesome.
Yeah, she is amazing. I saw that earlier when I was checking out your page, and so I'll chat you up about Nicole in a minute. But
she was actually the initial editor for my book, August, back in 2020.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, there were some things I did not understand. I'm basically an artist. I'm a comic book writer, but like the art is like so much in the foreground for me. There are some things I didn't understand with the comic book language. Nicole was like, "Hey, you need to put quote marks here, and like put this dialogue in another panel in some way." And it was great to deal with her.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Awesome. She taught me a lot, and has become a great friend. And I always joke with her that one day she'll actually teach me how to use a comma. And so I'm still hoping that happens at some point.
I think we may be on the same page there. Yeah.
I'll just show you a couple of real quick things, and then I'll pop out. We love to have a back matter section of each book. So we have pinups. We did a cross promotion with Mandrill PI. So backers of both Mandrill PI and Turner Family Terrors got an exclusive pinup. His campaign ended, but we have a new promotion right now with Christy Shin and Demon Bitch. So backers of both campaigns get a cool pinup that she drew the other day, and it kind of reminds me of like Charles Schultz Peanuts, like on acid. So it was fun collaborating with her, and yeah. So that's at the bottom of our page. We have a whole bunch of pictures of or images of our comic, all 4 issues, and then in the bottom we have a 6-page preview of issue 4, and there's some stuff that we couldn't show. Our book is like PG-13, or I put on there 17 plus because my neighbor was accidentally read it to his young kid, and so I told him in advance it wasn't a kid's book. So we've got some panels that I put little question marks over, but yeah. So let me see if I can pop out. Go here and stop sharing. Here we go. So that's Turn of Friendly Terrors. We have 11 days left. And yeah, we're just riding stretch goals and yeah, just having a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So, Blake, I do have a few more questions for you, Robert. But
sure,
Blake, let's just jump over to you and give us the quick pitch for Territory. And if you want to share a screen for your campaign, let's do that.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Make sure I'm doing this right.
Full disclosure, I've seen a lot of this campaign. It's like the color work is so great. The logo is great. It looks like a very appealing kaiju sort of like this is a fun series.
Mm.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear, and definitely, and I'll kind of talk about this because Joey is directly involved here. But a lot of the colors and stuff were something that we really wanted to focus on with this one, and so I'm glad that kind of comes across.
Absolutely.
So to kind of get into it, I mean, you can see up here. So this is also our 4th issue. We funded the first 3 through Kickstarter as well, and this was actually my first comic book series. I hadn't really done anything creative, comics related, anything like that before. And so it's been an awesome learning experience just going through, each campaign. And I feel like we've sort of learned and grown with each campaign. So far, each campaign we've increased in backers, which has been awesome. So definitely, building that community around the book has been really cool. So sort of the log line is it's a post-apocalyptic kaiju epic where people worship the kaiju as gods. And then the 2 big series that come to mind are Godzilla, which anytime you're doing kaiju, I feel like you got to mention Godzilla. But then Horizon Zero Dawn sort of has a lot of aesthetic as well as some thematic similarities with, it being a post-apocalyptic world, sort of a tribal world, and how religion is sort of religion and faith are sort of central to a lot of the beliefs, but they're not always exactly what they appear. So we've got about 4 days left. This will go till October 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And we're about 80% there, just under $900 left to go. So, it's going to be a race to the finish, but I think we'll get there. So one thing before I get in here is a change to this campaign that we didn't have in previous campaigns is that Joey actually helped manage this campaign, built this page, and he and his Geek Collective network have helped with the kind of promotion and everything. And I think that's really helped this. Like you said, the feel of the campaign page, the colors, and just generally making it feel like sort of a professional level, taking it from that next level of campaign and of the book. So we've got, sort of a summary of the first 3 issues, and basically just kind of catch people up. Like I said, Alkia is the main character. She worships what's called the Great Horn, which is this big bear monster that you see in the background here. And then this is her. She's a hunter in the tribe. And so they worship this great horn, and, it's been a long time since they've even seen that. And then suddenly it comes, and then another kaiju comes. They go on a pilgrimage to learn more about its history and a battle with a different kaiju. So we start off with a lot of action. And then at the end of the 3rd issue, there was a pretty big twist, and we jump right into this 4th issue, and sort of everything has changed. And fortunately, with the community on Kickstarter and just with indie comics in general, I've been able to get a lot of advice as I've sort of gone through this. And we've had a lot of support for this book from some amazing creators. Kat is one of probably the biggest Kickstarter creators going right now. She puts out a ton of stuff, and it's very successful. Wes just put out Hard Justice, which was doing great, and then Charlie's another big time. He's got a huge sort of network and a lot of books he works on and a lot of really successful stuff. Another creator I've looked up to and who's kind of shown me some things along the way. So it was awesome to get some quotes from them, to show the support in the community. We're hopefully once we get it funded, we'll be able to hit some of our stretch goals. We want to include both digital and physical goals for people so that everyone who's backing, no matter, how they prefer to get their books, they'll get something. So we'll have some additional content, some behind the scenes stuff added, some process stuff, as well as some, bookmarks, stickers, pins, stuff like that. And then going down into it. So this is all, sort of that colors and, all this neon is from a variant artist. Her name is Martha Womersley, and she has done a variant for all 4 issues so far. And each of her variants is just such a unique and interesting take on not only the world of Territory, but just different from other variants, other comic covers I've seen. And we really wanted to incorporate that into the campaign. So all those bright neon colors, that's all inspired by her variants. She's been on all 4 issues, and she's a big, she's a big supporter of the book. She's a kaiju artist outside of Territory, but she does a whole bunch of other artwork and just a really unique, talent with color and stuff like that, especially. And then all these, showcases for the rewards and everything. This was all made by Joey, and that's, so really this campaign, I feel like this page sticks out more than any of our previous 3, which has been awesome.
It's really cool. And I think that's, when you look at, as a creator, sharing your Kickstarter campaign and like really thinking about what do I want to convey to the backers and what you want to hold back. I'm actually struggling with that myself because I have like a lot of good stuff for my next campaign. I'm like, this is a good cliffhanger or like a good draw-in type of thing, but like it's hard to really calculate like how much you want to give away that would be a spoiler, but also like you certainly want to draw people in. I think when I looked at this campaign, you have like all those neon colors. There's a lot of I feel like when I look at this campaign page, there's a lot of good stuff. Like, I feel like this is going to be exciting. There's a lot of good colors. There's a lot of good artwork, and it's really going to work. And that's what I think is really good about how this campaign page is like put together.
I really tried to and I'm sorry for interrupting, but no, I really tried to like convey what he was getting across, right? Because this was my first time getting into Territory and getting to read this. And when I read it, I said, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing that I've read in quite some time. I'm a big, huge, like post-apocalyptic kind of guy. Like if I will like eat up any kind of story, if it's post-apocalyptic, whether it's like comics or movies or even books, like I'll consume the heck out of it. And that's what I always look for. Right. And when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And the first thing that you think of when you think of like a post-apocalyptic story is like it's devoid of color. There's like no color at all. That's like this, so I thought it was really cool when I saw that he had this neon colors and these neon things. I was like, well, let's lean into that a little bit and give something, aesthetically pleasing so that people can be pulled into this. And it was really cool to kind of be in the back end and kind of see how that kind of came together a little bit. And it came out really cool.
No, that's the thing. I think this campaign really stuck out from other things I was looking at on Kickstarter. Like this was like it had a prehistoric feel to it in some way. I think that's probably due to the logo and then the color choices. Like it really did sort of like, hey, this is a little bit different. There's a lot of other things like this, but this is going to be like slightly elevated, and that's a good thing to see.
Sure. Well, thank you. And yeah, and that's where I think bringing Joey on board for this one really helped get a lot of that across. Cause that was what I wanted when I was creating Territory was at first I just knew I wanted to create a kaiju story, but then I thought, how can I make it different than other kaiju works? And so I wanted to focus on kind of the human element, and then having the kaiju sort of be a metaphor for religion and faith. I've always liked that aspect of these things are so big and powerful that people would worship them, and so having that sort of primal element is really powerful. But then with Martha bringing in this totally different neon thing, like Joey said, which, sticks out so much from what you think a post-apocalyptic world would be, really sort of brings it to, helps it stick out that this isn't your typical, two monsters smashing each other. It is a kaiju book. There is kaiju action, but there's a lot else going on here as well. So I'm glad that that's what's coming across, and that's what's been fun to sort of work on and differentiate it. So we've got 4 covers for this campaign. So this is sort of the standard cover A cover. So we actually, we have a new artist coming on to this. The first 3 issues were drawn by Chris Sassman, an artist based out of South Africa. He was amazing. And it was, this was sort of his first big project as well. And his artwork was incredible. We loved having him on. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to continue. And so we brought on Donnie Hadiwajaja. And he has done a great job of sort of keeping the feel of the world the same while also putting his own unique spin on it. This cover is by Chris Sassman, by the original artist. And the colorist is Ichsan Ansori, who's been on all of the books so far. And he worked with Chris, and he'll be working with Donnie. And he worked on a couple of these covers, but he also is a big reason, I think, that the world feels so consistent, even though we're switching artists on this one. And you'll see that just sort of in the covers. If you look from the cover from issue to issue, it kind of tells a story, but it feels consistent with that same coloration on it. So this, just kind of, once you've read the book, these characters, this is sort of the main character, Alkia here in the front. Nebo is this guy in the background, and he's sort of the foil. She's very devoutly religious, and he's more of a cynic. And so they are friends, but they play off each other with their difference in belief. And this cover is kind of showing some of the shock of what happened in the last issue.
So real quick, let's just talk about that a little bit. When you get to characters that have very diverse viewpoints in the world they interact with, like that's something I kind of struggle with. I'm like trying to create a Kickstarter or a Zoop campaign. We'll see what it needs to be. Like if you have to have a character or a group of characters, they have like super diverse viewpoints. Like there's kind of a way of managing that is like appropriate to a sort of Chris Claremont, like sort of 20 issue run of a comic. And then you actually look at like Kickstarter campaigns, they're probably like, I would say at the max, like 8 issues. Like we don't really have the same sort of like this issue is going to be published forever. It's hard to kind of address how like the characters should be like sort of like illustrated, basically. Like how much do you want to give away? And then also we have to like kind of contend with like we need to really sort of put the most exciting things forward at the campaign stage. Like how much do you like really contend with like this sort of like old school, let's put everything like sort of slow burn with like the sort of like let's make everything really sort of exciting at the sell point.
Absolutely. So a lot of that actually goes to Nicole, who we've all talked about as being so amazing. And I think that's where having a good editor really, really helps, especially as a newer creator. Because, this is a story that I've been working on for a couple years. And it was originally going to be 6 issues, and I'd written all 6 issues out. And then kind of talking to her as well as some other people in the community, I realized that, a lot of it was, I wanted to show every little detail about all these characters, and you just can't do that. And so, and having an editor and someone with that understanding and who can look and say, this is what's important. This is what people need to know. This is what will keep people's attention. And, being able to parse out anything that, while in your head, which this world you've been living in and building for years is cool, it's not really necessary, and you can deliver the same information in a more concise manner. And so Nicole has been absolutely incredible for that. I didn't have her for the first issue. I didn't have any editor, and I'd say that's by far the biggest mistake I've made with this series. From the first issue to the second issue, I think her editing is so clear. It flows so much smoother, and you get so much more information in such a concise way, and it's more, so it's more exciting. It flows better, and it's more readable that way. So I think that is definitely hard. This is going to be a 5-issue series, so this is, the penultimate issue. There will be one more after this. But like I said, it was originally going to be 6, but I think talking to her and figuring out, what's important and being able to really parse that down is definitely one of the things I still struggle with. When I write scripts, when I look at things, when I go to change things. And so having someone like that who really has an eye for it is just invaluable. And that would be my number one advice to anybody looking to start, is make sure you have an editor and listen to them, because it's cool in your head, but it will all get jumbled up if you just put everything out there.
Oh, or have the exact same person for me as well. When I was like I had a series that was accepted by Action Lab when she was there, and literally gave me so much great advice about how you not necessarily organize specific content as far as dialogue is concerned, but how you organize that on a page with quote marks, with ellipses, really down to the details. Super comic book stuff, and that was incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I have kind of a similar experience. Turner Family Terrors was supposed to be a 5-issue series, and just going through it, it became clear one of the issues in the middle was basically an entire flashback, and I was just thinking, well, I mean, this is really cool, going back in time and doing a period piece, and it's so much fun, but can I pull this entire flashback off in 4 panels or 4 pages of the final book? And I could. So that's one of the things, and that makes this issue 4, this finale, that much more exciting. You get to jump back, you get to get more of an origin story for some of our heroes and villains, and then you get that shock value because you make these connections between the family members. That's sort of a big reveal, but you're not doing it in an entire issue. You're doing it in 6 pages. You hop back into the action, and then you can continue on. And it made our final issue. This book is 32 pages. And so it made it a bigger issue 4, but that makes it an even better book to bring to Kickstarter. You bring a book and you don't have to have the constraints of a 22-page book. Make it bigger, supersize it, and then sell that, and just cram it with more stuff, and it can be an even better book. And I didn't have Nicole as my editor on my first book, and I had another buddy of mine, and his area of expertise was more feature film stuff. So he Christopher Angel was my editor, and he directed the Wishmaster series. And so I got him to work with me, but then I sort of jumped into it. I worked with my artist. I created my first book, put it on Kickstarter, and then I found Nicole. And so she kind of held my hand through the final 3 issues. And then I turned to her and I was like, Nicole, just go back to issue 1. Go back to issue 1 and do your thing. And she was like, cool, that's what I want to do. So she went back to issue 1. She put her stamp on it. We did a deluxe digital it was a 2022 release for that. That one originally came out in 2020. And then so now we have all 4 issues that she's put her stamp on, and it's and it was fun it's always fun to work with her. So it's like, yeah, let's go back and make them all consistent. And yeah.
Nicole was a great. I think the way we interacted was like the Action Lab is actually, she was working for them at the time, but like that was kind of a weird situation. But I would say, even considering for that, the feedback I got from her was amazing. It was really good, and it was actually things that is like sort of a journeyman writer, but a good artist. I suppose I'm a good artist.
Yeah.
You're a great artist, man. By the way. Yeah, Scarlet Twilight. So I was trying to remember where I knew you from, and so I backed your Kickstarter 3 years ago or something. It was the first issue.
It was 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, I know that dude. That comic was awesome, and it looked incredible. And then I went and I looked at your other stuff, and they all look amazing. And then you had that shocking twist at the end.
There's a few shocking twists.
Yeah, well, sure, yeah, but I was just like, oh man, I love that. And then I went over to Zoop today, and I have not haven't done anything on Zoop, so I got an account there, and I backed my first book on Zoop. So I don't know if you have. Maybe life happens, and sometimes you miss other issues of other creators that you really like. But if you have gone to other platforms, I might not have followed you, but I found you again, and I'm looking forward to catching up with the Twilight series, Twilight, and then August, and all that kind of stuff.
There's cool stuff to come for both of those series, and I think Scarlet Twilight is probably going to be the next one, but we'll see what happens. But I have to ask you a question, Robert, about like cryptid stuff.
Okay.
So my wife is an artist as well, and she drew a picture of a cryptid called the Squonk about like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it like became like almost the second most recognizable picture of the Squonk.
Really?
Yeah. And the Squonk is basically a hideous creature that lives in basically Pennsylvania, the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay.
And is so ugly that it like looks at its reflection and it cries, and looks at its reflection in the tears it cries and becomes even more sadder. We almost went to Squonk Fest this year.
Yeah.
Which is in Jonestown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Which would have been really fun. And I've only become involved with sort of cryptid stuff between Kickstarter campaigns who are really embracing of sort of all these cryptids, Mothman, all this stuff.
Yeah, Mothman Festival was just recent, like a couple weeks ago in West Virginia.
Yeah,
and it's interesting. It's a wild community. It's very, very popular. And to be completely honest with you, I really only experience it through my artist, Easton Hawk, and you can check him out at Easton Hawk Illustration on Instagram. And he's super into it. And every few months he'll drop a pinup of a new cryptid that I'm not even like aware of. And so what's kind of cool is that he'll do one, and he dropped one called the Loveland I think it's like the Loveland frog creature or something. And it was fantastic. And I saw it, and I was like, you know what? I have a creature in my book that's sort of similar to that. There's the Squonk. Yeah.
Oh, Joey, that is my wife's
illustration. That's his wife's picture too.
Oh, nice.
Do that picture.
That's awesome.
And she reached out to people. She only recently rediscovered this. She drew that in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And she like finally found out that like that was widely circulated as the definitive.
Yeah. And it is. It was the first. I just Googled it. It's the first one that popped up too.
It is the Squonk illustration.
Nice.
We're actually supposed to go to Squonk Fest this year, and we didn't do it. But
Yes. So what I've done is Kentucky. For the last issue, I saw Easton's drawing for the Loveland. I want to say Frog Monster or the Loveland Frog, and then so I said, I want you to do that, but I want you to do it with my character. And so he came. So he came up with this guy here, and then recently there's another one called the Kentucky Goblin, and so for the Kentucky Goblin, I said that's another one that I want us to take inspiration from, but let's cross it with like Nosferatu, and so smash those together, and then come up with something. And that is I showed it earlier. That is our cover, our main cover for our current Turner Family Terrors. And Easton, he did a Bigfoot variant for the Department of Truth, and so that was like a big thing for him. Yeah, it's cool. Like every few months I see something, I'm blown away, and I'm introduced to some weird ass monster in like the backwoods of
idea about
Kentucky somewhere or something
until about a year ago. Like my wife was like, so I drew this picture of like a squonk in like 2012, and now this is like the biggest squonk drawing ever. And like I had no idea what a squonk was. Yeah. Apparently it was mentioned in a Steely Dan song from the 70s.
Really?
That's funny. That's
and
hilarious.
Also the title of a Genesis song when Phil Collins was still there in the early 80s. So like this was clearly established, but like, oh my God, this is an insane community. But like
that's funny.
It is really cool to see that stuff. And I think a lot of comic people have embraced that stuff. Obviously, Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever sort of things, but it's really cool to see. And Blake, to just get back over to you, because like the sort of kaiju stuff is really tied into that. And even though you're a Denver Broncos fan, which I consider me at,
been rough, man, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, dude, Bengals fan. It's been rough. It's been a rough start of the season. But like when you look at the art you've shared from this campaign and how colorful it is, it's like it's literally everything I think you want to see from sort of a kaiju sort of epic battle campaign. And like, can you like share a little bit more about like what was really fun, like about getting into this comic?
Absolutely, and that's so that what I wanted to do with my first series was I wanted to make a kaiju book. That when I started thinking of what kind of story I wanted to tell, that was it. That was all I had at first, because I'm a big kaiju fan. And I think you hit it on the head. And actually, listening, I'm not familiar with the cryptid community. You know, I've seen some of the stuff, and I think it's cool.
I'm only barely familiar with it. Only a few with what I've said.
Totally, but I feel like
I'm all familiar with.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of parallels with the kaiju community. You know, again, there's a lot of media, obviously most of it, coming out of Japan and the East, going back to, the 50s and 60s, but very similar, a lot of just very strange out there designs, a lot of really creative, people just kind of coming up with these ideas for these monsters and things like that. And so, when you say kaiju, everyone thinks, oh, Godzilla or King Kong, which, obviously you can't not mention them because they're the biggest there is, but there is such a huge variety of kaiju. And so that was definitely something we wanted to play into. And my favorite kind of kaiju is sort of the more naturalistic force of nature kind. And that's what the kaiju that I wanted to have in these books. And so each kaiju is based on, the idea is that I looked at, tried to find a couple different animals from whatever region that the tribe in the story kind of comes from. So the main tribe here, the bear, it's called the Great Horn, is sort of a Pacific Northwest. So it's, bear, deer sort of inspiration. Then there's sort of an aquatic kaiju on the West Coast, sort of an amphibious crustacean crab sort of thing. And then the last one is sort of a desert type kaiju. So it's got more of a serpentine, scorpion type feel. And I really wanted that sort of natural primal feel to these. And again, sort of looking at the kaiju as an allegory for faith. This is, nature personified and sort of fighting back because of what we did to the world to get it, to cause whatever this post-apocalyptic event was. These things rose from the ashes sort of as nature's, retribution. And so they're supposed to be natural, but also, terrifying and twisted. And we've basically pushed nature too far. And so, the great horn, which is the one that you see here, was the first one. And that's where this is what really showed me that making comics is awesome, because I had the idea of sort of this bear with horns and these this kind of twisted animal in my head, but when I sent the description to Chris Sassman and I got the original picture back, which is actually what I've got up here behind me, is the original art for it, for the great horn, and you see that splash page in the first issue. And so when I saw that was when I was like, okay, this is fun. And this is definitely the kind of story I want to tell. And so, and then working with someone like Martha, and this is her cover for issue 4. And like I said, she's done one for each issue. Seeing her take,
your screen is shared now. So if you want to scroll down to that, if that's what we're seeing now, you're in control.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this one here is with the great horn, and she just took it with her colors and her style to such a new level, and it kind of pulls on all those years of kaiju media with the crazy designs, the crazy colors, all that, and it just really sort of helped capture like that aspect of the community, which that's the sort of media that I was inspired by when I first started to create this, and so it's really cool. And having, 4 different covers, one for each kaiju, and now this with the main character as well. And just seeing, that take has really, made it feel like it is a true kaiju book with all this sort of craziness going on, despite the story trying to be somewhat grounded. And then to kind of go a little different direction, this is the 3rd cover. So this is by Laura Helsby, and they are someone who I'd seen on a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, but I hadn't worked with before. But her work or their work was always something that I was really inspired by. And I wanted to kind of, I had the crazy neon cover, so I wanted something a little bit more grounded to show sort of the gritty human side of the story, which is very much about, the sort of central plot line is about challenging, what happens when your faith is challenged, when your beliefs are turned upside down. And, that's something that is a very personal and dramatic and oftentimes traumatic experience for people. And so, trying to get some of that sort of, zealous, kind of gritty detail was something that Laura does really well. And this cover, I feel like, really captures that aspect of the book. So it works really well with the neon, because one is sort of the crazy kaiju fun, and this one is sort of the more grounded human aspect of it. So it's cool getting kind of both themes of the book in the different covers. And then the last one is here by the new artist, Donny Hadiwajaja. And again, with him, it was, we talked about, this is sort of a new world for Territory. It's a new artist bringing Joey on, sort of revamping the campaign a little bit. And how do we show sort of this new, terrifying world, and especially after the plot twist in the last issue. And so this one really kind of captures, this is a whole new monster that she's dealing with. This is a whole new, world of Territory that we're in for these last couple issues, and things are about to get, really real, because now not only is there kaiju conflict, but the human conflict is going to start to really ramp up as well. And then sort of that lingering, losing your faith, losing your belief in the background, having this new thing come up and challenge your faith. This cover really captures that really well.
So Blake, let me ask you something about, like, I think when we're creating stories as writers, like, this is it's really hard to figure out like how to draw people in and how to make this, which is say like supporting things on Kickstarter, a really good experience and something comparable to what people would go to the newsstands when I was a kid. I'd like ride my bike to the convenience store and get the newest issue of Daredevil. Like, like we want to create something that's kind of comparable to that. You're talking about like how you're building up to the story and like how there's a turn in it and you need to express like some sort of, like the cover you're showing right now is like a really good escalation of that. And Robert, I'm going to throw this to you after Blake answers this, but like, how is this, like kind of describe if you can, like how this is going to be fun to support on Kickstarter? Like how is it going to be fun to follow this story?
Absolutely. So one thing, I think what's fun is, we're kind of appealing to a couple different audiences, but they'll all enjoy the different aspects of it. So one, it's fun seeing big monsters just smash each other, right? Like that's why anybody checks out any sort of kaiju media. And so we've definitely got a lot of, we deliver on that. Each issue, I really tried to have at least one scene where you just get that kaiju moment that you're just like, yes, this is awesome. This is what I came for. I get to see the big monster do the big monster thing. And it's, the art is awesome and it's fun. But the other part of that is focusing on the human element and really getting people invested in these characters. And like you said, one thing that's cool, when you have a 20 issue run or those extended runs, you get little pieces of characters kind of throughout and it all adds up. With, a 5-issue run, you really need to develop your characters quickly. So you want people to buy into those characters. And so like with Alkia, the main character being very devout in her faith and Nebo being a cynic, my personal beliefs are much more in line with Nebo, which almost made Alkia more fun to write because I had to challenge myself to sort of think, okay, what is the viewpoint that I normally don't agree with, that I'm not normally looking out of? And how do I create a character that shows that viewpoint and would draw people in, sort of to that viewpoint? And so, creating this character, really trying to think from her perspective and give her this background, and then also giving her sort of a foil character who, there's also some romantic interest there. There's some family tension about, her dad doesn't want her to be with him because he is so cynical. He is challenging the faith of their tribe. And so, you get this really sort of complex character, but you can do that, you can add all these elements in, like Robert was talking about with a good editor, you can add these elements in, a couple pages or even a couple panels sometimes, but then people are like, okay, this is a character I identify with, or this is a character that I disagree with. So I want to see how their viewpoint plays out. And so that's what's been really fun is not only thinking of, sort of my opinions on faith and how, challenging it works, trying to portray that, but also thinking of the opposite viewpoint and trying to portray that as well. So the reader kind of gets both viewpoints and they can kind of decide as they go, which character they're really more invested in or agree with. And then when things change and that character's challenged, the reader is hopefully asking themselves, well, how would I react? Do I agree with what that character did? Do I, or what would I do in that situation? And so just creating, not only the characters, but the situations where the reader, hopefully is thinking, what would I do, if this happened to me, sort of thing.
Yeah. I noticed one thing too when I was looking at these different covers, and I got to be behind the scenes, right, and see like every single cover that he's had. And to go back to what Blake was saying earlier, the things that he kind of does with these covers are he tells the story as well along with the story, right? And I think that last cover there, that last cover D there, it does well with bringing you into the story but not giving you away everything, right? But it's like it's one of those classic covers where you look at the cover, you're like, ooh, this is about to happen. You feel like you've already seen this world. There's that everything that this world has already given you, and then there's a brand new monster that's going to be brought into this world. You're like, whoa, we're only one issue away. We still have new characters coming in, and how's this all going to play out, right? All this stuff's going to happen. It's going to have to happen very
Is this
quickly.
the right cover?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the
Cool.
one, and it's just such a gorgeous thing to kind of like look at and see that the progression of the story that happens within these 5 issues that are going to be brought to you guys, and I think that's one of those things that you know that I like to see when I'm going out to the shop and I see these different covers, and I usually kind of go for stuff like that too, and this is definitely one of those things that I would definitely pull up. Like,
Well, I mean, I think as an artist, like when you produce a cover, you have to think about like as an artist, you kind of want to just draw something cool, and you want like to show off your skills. Maybe like it's going to be pretty straightforward. Maybe you're going to show off like how well you can draw like folds or gestures or things like that. When what I think is really once you get past that, you need to like sort of think about like as yourself as a storyteller, like what is the thing I need to see on a shelf to make me buy that comic, and that's what this cover does really well. Like there's going to be adventure here, there's going to be action here, and that's like I think something that like a lot of Kickstarter comics, and I think as an artist myself, I kind of wanted to like I want to draw something cool. I want to draw like like a close-up portrait that really shows off how well I can render, but that's not really what a reader wants to see. I need a promise as a reader, as like.
and I think Robert kind of did the same thing here too with one because I'm looking at some of the covers here that he's got, and I feel like you kind of did the same kind of thing. We're gonna be getting here right on this cover is what we're gonna be getting inside, and I love that when we do that, right? I mean, there's always those people who are like, man, I really want
this cover is amazing, by the way.
This is cool.
A great drawing.
I want to make sure that I get.
I love working with Kyle Roberts. He's a fantastic illustrator, and Wes Hartman. We take a good amount of liberties with our covers. Like with our book, our book is a black and white book. So like, what we like to do is we have a black and white, like it's a comedy, but we would like to contrast that with these just incredibly vibrant, explosive color covers. And also in the back matter of our book, we have all of our color pinups as well. So we stay true to the story that we want to tell, going back to that kind of old school monster black and white look, but we want to kind of bring explosive, vibrant covers to the game. And one of the things that Ben mentioned a little while ago about bringing the fun to the comic. And so ours is kind of easy in that respect because it's a comedy. And so our book, Turner Family Terrors, it's basically about a family that is desperately trying to navigate their own dysfunction and traverse the pitfalls of parenthood. So in that regards, it's like a personal story for me. I joke around and I like to tell people that I'm just this like bumbling dad that's trying his best to not piss off his wife and screw up his kids. So for me, I
feel seen.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's fun for me. I get to bring my own personal stories in. I get to write about my own anecdotes, my own frustrations, joke around about my own frustrations as a husband, as a father. But I get to crank that humor up to 11 and just make it over the top, absurd. But what's fun for me is that I also get to play with all the genres that I love. I get to layer on top action, adventure, horror, urban fantasy, myth, mystery. But I layer on thick the dick jokes and the spit takes, So if you roll all that up and smoke it, like that's what you get. That's what you get with Turner Family Terrors. So it's a lot of fun, and readers
so that means you saw what I was doing before we started this stream.
Yeah, right. So it's fun. It's fun to tell the stories that I want to tell. They're personal stories, but they're just over the top. and
Mm.
it's great, and it was great making a comedy like these last 5 years, man, because there were some dark times in the world, and every single time I sat down to work at my comic, I was laughing, and I was like, maybe I'm just laughing at my own jokes, but like, it was good. It was like, it was almost therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think
To
that's something you kind of need to look at when you're like when I start my comics, I generally start at like an Excel sheet, like in because I'm an artist first. Generally concerned with page count, and like I think about like what sort of cool things I'm delivering to an audience at like every 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. Like it really gets into that, and it kind of like when you look at how the world has been, it's been pretty crazy. It's like we're looking for really like sort of hey look at me sort of media when we produce these things and when we consume these things. And like that's I think something we all have to be like sort of cognizant of when we write our comics, produce our comics, like share our comics on Kickstarter. Like it's got to be like, hey, this is fun. This is what's going to be fun if you back this book. And I think like what both of these campaigns tonight are doing is like really forward about that. Like, hey, this is what's going to be really fun about backing this book and getting involved in this story.
And I just want to say about this cover, one thing I really love about it is really fun, and it reminds me of like sort of the EC horror.
Oh, absolutely.
That old school where it was fun, it was just crazy. You never knew what it was going to be because they didn't care. They could do whatever they wanted, and so they would make it just disgusting and weird and crazy. And that's the same sort of vibe that I get off of this.
No,
And
this is super Frazetta. Like it's got a really fun vibe about it.
And Robert, you said something earlier that kind of I was looking through it. You said that you get to play around with multiple different genres and stuff. And I was looking through here, and I thought, if you had color in there, it may have kind of not really helped with that, right? You may that would have made. I was thinking to myself, would that have kind of kept you back from being able to create or write something in those different genres if there was color?
Well, the thing that I wanted to try to do is wanted to have like an old school look to it, but but the story is updated, and the story is it resonates with people because it's real, and I bring a lot of stuff from my own personal life to it. So like, I wanted to have those two contrasts. I wanted to have an old school black and white look, but I wanted to have a relatable, modern, absurd comedy. And so yeah, and it's just I don't know, it's something about a good black and white book. It just kind of feels a little other worldly to it. It feels a little vintage. It feels a little old school, like monstery. So it just really worked. It worked with what I wanted to, with the story that I wanted to tell.
I feel like sometimes nowadays, like there's a lot of people out there who do black and white comics, right? And I feel like some of them work, some of them don't, and you're just they kind of leave you questioning, like, why didn't you just get a colorist and just color that thing? It would have been a lot better if it was in color, and you could just tell that those are which comics those are, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I mentioned this, that I feel like with the story and the way it looks and the way it kind of reads, it feels like color would have kind of did a disservice to all this fun that we're
I'm
having
not sure how you
inside.
would color these pages. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my artist, like his biggest influence is Eisner's A Contract with God. And I haven't mentioned Ski's name once today. So Alexander Ski Bozic, he's a wonderful artist in Serbia. And what's interesting is that he brings kind of a refined, he's like a refined illustrator, has a European perspective, has a real affinity to Eisner's work, and then I come in with, like I said, like a family dramedy with plenty of nut punches and kicks to the balls, and just like I'm trying.
Yeah,
It's also like
this is right here.
and yeah, and like the grandpa's doing a bunch of cocaine in this issue. This is one of the final panels of like towards the end, because it's like you of course think it's going to be a happy ending, and then we get like the big twist that happens. And so yeah, so it all has seemed to like really it all worked. It worked really well when I first started working with Ski, and so yeah. But if you do want to see Turner Family Terrors in color, we had a short story in an anthology, and it was called Concrete Arcanum, and it was a kids anthology. So we basically decided to do everything in this anthology that we do not do in our book. We have it's a 2-page short story, and it has color pages, and there's no profanity in it. So if you're interested in a TFT short and you want to read it to the kiddos, we have that in our Kickstarter as well. So you can check that out.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, as an artist, I mean, like I'm an artist first. I went to school for like to be an artist. Like that's where I come from. Like I generally like will go on to heritage auctions and like look at Claus Janson pages, Frank Miller pages, Stuart Newman pages. Like that's where I really want to get. Like that's how I kind of really want to consume comic art, basically. Mm-hmm. And like so, I think whenever I see like really good comic art, that's generally how I want to get that. I want to see it black and white. I really want to see how like the artist is doing that stuff. And that's not to say like I think backers generally want to see good colored stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good colorists out there. They're doing great stuff. But as an artist, yeah, I love to see the black and white. I love to be able to get that.
One thing that's kind of cool is that one of my inspirations was Terry Moore, and
cool.
And so recently he came to Kickstarter, and
I've seen that,
yeah. So I texted him or on DM'd him or something, and I told him, I was gonna let everybody know and back him, and good luck on Kickstarter. And he wrote me back, and we had a little exchange there, and that's like the power of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Did he cross promote you, or did he promote your Kickstarter at all?
Well, it was. I wasn't asking. I wasn't on. I wasn't.
No, I'm gonna be upset because
no. Well, it's hard to. You can't.
Big problem with those people coming on and not doing anything to give back to the community.
That does happen. That does happen.
Just give
I didn't ask him that because I didn't have a campaign. I wasn't. I wasn't asking him.
Back, he needs to.
I wasn't asking him.
Shame on him.
I didn't have a book.
I'm saying it right here. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. If there's any big comic book creator coming to Kickstarter, just do a little bit of work and push the community just a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. That wasn't brought up. I wished him well, and I bought his book, and I just thought it was his first Kickstarter, and he was nervous, and so like I was the pro. I was the pro, having already done 4 Kickstarters that I was telling Terry Moore. I was giving him advice. But no, it's cool. It's just
give him that advice next.
Right. But no, it's cool. I love Kickstarter. I'm a Kickstarter comics guy. Like that's my jam.
Listen, Liz, I've been doing this for a few years now, and I've backed campaigns years and years ago. And right now, Geek Collective is involved. We had 19 successful campaigns, and we have about 4 or 5 in pre-launch or pre-build phase right now. So and that's not including the ones that are still running right now. So we've been around the block a little bit, and the one consistent thing that I don't see from those big names is, and I've done my research to so that I can prove myself wrong, is not one of them have I seen that has done anything to either share or even do a cross promotion with any of the Kickstarter people who've been here for years. So
Well, you know
I
what?
love
To give them to cut them some slack, like when
no,
I
don't give
don't
them
know,
slack.
I'm a nice guy, you know. So, but I'll tell
Me
you what,
too.
when
Don't
I
give them
did,
slack there.
yeah, well, you know, when I did my first book, when I was on Kickstarter for the first time, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know about cross promotion. I didn't know about the indie bundles where I can get my friends to throw in their books, and I give my book out to all my friends. My first issue of Turner Family Terrors.
Well,
I didn't know about any of that stuff, so I don't know. Maybe
listen,
they just didn't.
I would agree with you if I didn't know some of the other PR people and the other people that are building the campaigns that are doing it for these big people. Like I know the
Yeah.
guys who built the campaign for Wesley Snipes. I
Hmm.
know them. They know the community. They've been in this game for a while.
Yeah.
They should have told them to do it, but they didn't. So
Yeah.
I know so some of these
Yeah.
people, if I go into their campaigns and I see and I'm like, oh, I know who's building this and I know who your PR people are. They know better. And so if these creators don't know, their PR people should be talking to them and letting them know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we can give them excuses all day just because we love them and they're awesome, right? That doesn't ever stop. I listen. I'm a comic book guy too. I love these people. I was friends with Brian Augustine before he passed, right? Like I'll be the first person to tell these people that I love them. But but when it comes to Kickstarter, and I see
Wait,
that all
Joey
these
has Brian
people,
Augustine passed?
yes, a
I
while
did
ago.
not know that. A friend
Yeah.
of mine from college was good friends with him.
Yeah, he was a fantastic person. But yeah,
Wow.
but
Okay.
anyway, but
I
that's
did
my
not know that.
listen. That's
That's
the
very
one thing that
sad.
I will. That is my thing that I always fight about. Whatever. I'm sorry for. That's my soapbox that I never put down. I'm sorry.
No, it's good to hear.
They're like, oh, it's awkward now. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Look, so a friend of mine from college, I went to school in Cleveland. I'm from Cincinnati, but I went to school in Cleveland. And a friend of mine that had grown up in Cleveland was good friends with Brian Augustine and I think Jim Calafiore, who was a good
Mm,
Aquaman artist back in the 90s.
yeah.
And like he had a ton of like sort of inside information that was like, I think those guys were sort of into the industry, but not like totally connected, not really in the mix as the 2000s got in there. And it was really cool to hear about like the stuff that those people had as far as being involved in the industry, and like then like the kind of like total blackout they had when they were like not really doing stuff
Mhm.
for DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was really he lived out here in Arizona, and
Hmm.
one year I was working the big con that we have out here, and I helped him like pack up his car and stuff, and because it was late and it was just him and his wife, and it was weird because it was like I had parked next to them unknowingly, and I'm into my car, and so I just kind of helped him out, and I was like, this is pretty cool because this is I know exactly who this is. So and then we became friends, and I got to interview him and stuff, and it was really cool. So, but but yeah, I'm sorry for going off on that, guys. That is the one my one big soapbox. Listen, I am a big, huge Kickstarter guy, and I back like I'm part of the community because I want to make sure you guys are being these I want these books to get into people's hands, right? And that's the one big thing that I've always had a problem with everybody's like, hey, these big it's awesome because it opens up these people. Yes, I agree with that they bring tons of amazing people, new people to the platform, and I love that. Um, but we all of us, I know everybody here sitting on this panel has done cross promotions and has reached out to
Mhm.
other people without asking for anything in return, and you guys are going to continue to do that during your career. And I think just just doing just a tiny little bit of that would help out and everybody tremendously if everybody on the platform could do something like that, whether you're big, small, or whatever you feel you are. I think just doing a little bit of cross promotion, maybe sharing out a link or two and talking up another campaign that is not yours. It just even once is going to help out the community a lot more than not doing those things.
I want to quickly shout out a campaign. Ben, what's going on with your campaign? Like, what are you doing, dude?
So
Benjamin W. Morse, what are you selling right now?
That is me.
Because I was snooping around lately, and I don't know how the hell the Zoop thing works. But
you're bringing back Scarlet, right?
I backed something today. I bought something. So tell us, what are you selling?
So basically, we are Scarlet Twilight. I started this campaign in 2021. Did the first 3 issues on Kickstarter. Switched over to Zoop for the 4th issue and the collection. So we did a collection campaign for the entire book, with a ton of extras earlier this year, and we had kind of. I don't want to get too much into that, but like some back and forth with the printer that I was a little confused by. But we finally have gotten, I think, all the proofs approved. We are going to print, and we opened up the campaign for a few more days, just if anyone had missed out, and you can get on this if you want to. So basically, We Are Scrollite 20 number 4 and the hardcover. If you've backed the other issues, you can get number 4. If you have not gotten the other issues, you can get the entire story 1 through 4 and all the hardcover sort of extras, which is to say a ton of concept art, a ton of unused art, and some really cool stuff to see. So awesome. Check that out if you haven't backed it yet. And there's probably going to be 4 or 5 more days where that'll be available. So that is where we are with Scarlet Twilight.
You just have how does Zoop work? Do you just have one campaign on there right now, or do you have a couple for August? Or
that's a good question. So Scarlet Twilight, we switched over to number 4. We did numbers 1 through 3 in Kickstarter, and it's all me. So I was basically running it myself. It was really falling behind as far as like producing the art and sending stuff to press. I was in touch with Zoop and decided, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to go over to them for number 4? And that was it really worked out very well. So I'm on number 4 and the hardcover for Zoop with Zoop. And as far as hardcover August is concerned, we released issues 1 through 4 through Red 5 in direct market, and have a really big extended version of that comic through Zoop. So basically, I think with August you get about 106 or 7 issues of story through direct market if you pick that up. If you get it through Zoop, you get the entire 1 through 4 issue. You get a 13-page prequel, and you get about 100 pages of concept art that went into the development of the book. So it's like a really expansive version of the story.
So you do have technically 2 campaigns running right now on Zoop. Is that right?
No, not actually. No, so August is closed down.
Okay.
We kind of have been going through. Let me think about how to say this.
So how does Zoop, does it like act as if it's like a marketplace as well?
I would say essentially. So both of the books I have on Zoop are also offered through Red 5 Comics, and you can get those in direct market at your local comic book store. As far as how we will get those books out to people through if you back the campaign, I would say that we've done the hardcover through Zoop for Scarlet Twilight and August. And it's basically if you back that, we're trying to catch up with getting you that basically expanded version of things that will never be in the direct market, which is a ton of concept art, a ton of unused art and stuff like that.
Well, cool, man. Good to know. My daughter has just informed me that I need to jump off and go back to being daddy mode, and mainly just being quiet. The soundproofing I bought for my office didn't work at all, so I need to shut her down so she can go to sleep. So
Totally.
I'm gonna pop off. I don't know if you want to. How What do you think, Ben? What do you how late do you usually run these? And
we're actually almost 30 minutes over.
Yeah,
we're 30 minutes over. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's cool. We just
So,
go
yeah,
as long
just
as
give
it,
your
as long as it
if you
needs to
want to
go.
give your last quick 30
Yeah,
second
let me
thing, and
let me
then,
give
and
my 30 seconds.
everybody out.
So my
Absolutely,
comic
yeah.
is Turner Family Terrors. It's a horror comedy family adventure. Think The Simpsons meets Hellboy. It's got a little bit of a Scooby-Doo look. The jokes are like a Rick and Morty or South Park. So it's an adult comedy book. And my biggest influence is Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein, with a little bit of Monster Squad thrown in there. And yeah, so we're on Kickstarter for 11 until October 13th, which I just realized, I'm a big horror guy. I just realized was Friday the 13th.
Oh,
So there you go.
awesome.
We end on Friday the 13th, and we're doing real well. We funded in 48 hours. We're on to stretch goal number 3. And yeah, so come on, check it out. TurnerFamilyTerrors.com. Hop on the horror train and grab yourself a copy of the book.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
And Blake, can you give me a similar pitch for Territory?
Yes. So Territory is a post-apocalyptic kaiju epic where people worship the kaiju as gods. And we are also on issue number 4. This will be 4 of 5. And so we are also on Kickstarter. We'll be there for about three and a half more days now. And we need just a little under 900, I think, to fund. But so it's it's influenced by stuff like Godzilla and Horizon Zero Dawn, post-apocalyptic storytelling, lots of kaiju action, as well as story sort of centered around how people deal with the challenges of having their faith and their beliefs challenged, and new experiences, and the world changing around them. So we've got a lot of rewards, from digital to catch up, to all sorts of really cool variant covers. If you're a fan of really colorful neon things, we have a whole tier just for you. And so yeah, go ahead and check us out.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. One quick question. The logo for your series is really great. Who came up with that?
That was Chris Sassman, the original artist. He wanted to do the logo, and so he just did that totally. He did all the interiors, he's done the covers, so he's a talented artist. And then he wanted to do the logo as well, and apparently he's a really good designer, logo creator as well. So he did not only, did he design almost all of the characters, but he also designed the logo and sort of the world.
Very cool stuff to see. That's an amazing logo. Has a lot of 80s influence. It just really gets across what I think this series is.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
All right, so I think we've gone on for a long time tonight. One thing I want to bring up is, if you are a creator that is bringing up like sending out your comics, getting stuff out to people, you really need to look at getting Gemini mailers for your stuff. I literally see a post every single week about somebody getting a post from Kickstarter, like somebody getting a comic from Kickstarter. Something's mangled, something's bent, and it's sent in like a media mailer or a plastic mailer. If you go on to Gemini Comic Supply, enter the code GeekLeft10, you're going to get 10% off, and it's going to be something you really ought to build in your campaigns, and make sure that gets to your backers the way it ought to be.
Yeah. And it definitely saves you a lot of money. I had a handful of creators use it, and they $200-300 off your till, like, definitely can save you a whole lot. And I definitely work with as many creators as I can, and it's one of those things that I ask them to make sure that they are doing, if they are able to, is to ship with Gemini mailers.
Yeah, there's literally, I mean, I'm not making this up. I literally see a post every week about somebody getting a comic from Kickstarter where it's shipped in like a middle of an envelope or a bad, like sort of something else.
Just one of those
It's
flat
bent,
rate
it's
or
not
those.
good. And they're
Yeah.
like, why, if you spent all this time making this comic, why did you not send it in a Gemini mailer? It happens. It literally, it sounds made up, but it does happen.
Listen, and there's even creators out there who I love, who love the work that they do, um who still do not use Gemini mailers, and no problems. I understand why you guys do it, but sometimes there's gonna the luck is gonna run out sometimes, so just be very
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah, and I think it's something you can build into your campaign.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not. I think that when you look at overseas shipping, yes, there's issues where people are like, why is this so much? When you are looking to in the same country sort of thing, I think people get it. I think people understand, and you really ought to do it.
Yeah, and especially people who are backing Kickstarters, like then they want that top product. They want what you're delivering to be as in good condition. That's
Mhm.
something that definitely 100%. I think I've gotten feedback from people who we've sent to that they appreciate the condition the books are in, the condition the rewards are in, and it
Yeah.
just builds that positive feedback.
I just saw, I was talking to a potential client, and I was looking at some of the stuff that he does, and he goes above and beyond, like he doesn't use bag and boards. Well, he does use bags, but not the boards. He uses this really thick styrofoam divider in between, and it's like when you take these extra steps and then you wrap them, he wraps them in like this gorgeous looking package. And when you see creators that are taking care of the product that gets shipped off to you that much, you're like, holy crap. It's almost like, if like, I don't want to say it this way, but it's almost like the art could be really, really bad, but if they shipped it to me this freaking amazing, I'll be like, holy crap, this is
They
gorgeous, right?
care that much.
They cared that much.
It's all
But no,
about
Yeah.
presentation.
even this stuff was gorgeous though. But and the just the when you just a little bit of care, like you can just tell that these creators, they
Well,
put a little bit of care into what they send to you. It makes you feel like you want to continue to back them.
yeah, and that's something like it's actually kind of odd. Like I'm not a big comic collector as far as like putting things in long boxes and keeping them really like well taken care of. Like I
Me
moved to New
neither.
York City, I was like in a tiny apartment. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep my Superman, Batman comics I really care about, and that's just going to be it. And when I started doing stuff on Kickstarter, I was a little surprised at the amount of people that were like really hardcore collectors, cared about the
Mhm.
condition of comics. And like, I had the weirdest conversation with a friend of my wife who was not a comic person at all. And she was like, and she said, she like had the best insight. She's like, it sounds like you were like kind of thinking about what you wanted and you were surprised by like what everyone else out there wanted. And I'm like,
Mhm.
holy crap, you're
Right?
mind blown. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened.
Right.
This is a different thing. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's how it has to be.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Very cool. Blake, thanks for hanging out with us, man. It's been a lot of fun, and
Absolutely, man.
we appreciate Robert hanging out with us as well. Ben, where can everybody find you?
They can find me at this link here. I just threw it in the chat. Um, so basically, we've reopened the Scarlet Twilight campaign for a few more days. We just approved the print files after a pretty long process. But this is going to be going to press in a couple more days. So if you want to get in on this, you just a few more days left, and that's basically going to be it. So like this is a collection of Scarlet Twilight 1 through 4, ton of extra stuff, and it's going to be really fun to follow along with. And the really cool thing is that the sequel to Scarlet Twilight is going to be coming out, I think, early 2024. And this is the best way to catch up, be caught up on not only the 1 through 4 story, but all the stuff that went into that. So really cool to see. And if I can share a sketch of what we're going to be doing for promo artwork.
Very cool.
For the next Scarlet Twilight.
That looks so cool.
Roughed out. Basically, what it's going to be is 1940s comics, like the Golden Age stuff mixed with Crisis on Infinite Earth. So everything you like about existing superhero universes
I love that.
All that stuff mixed with what's cool about Golden Age stuff. So it's going to be fun.
Very, very cool. And Blake, where can everybody find you?
Right now, Territory issues 1 through 4 is on Kickstarter. That's the campaign we've been talking about. If you are curious to follow me on social media, Twitter is probably the best way. I'm also on Instagram, just at BMC Comics, COMICS. I'll be giving all the updates about Territory as well as other sort of random things there. And then if you're curious about checking Territory out before you back it, all the first 3 issues are available free digitally on Global Comics if you search Territory on Global Comics, so you can check it out there if you're curious about the world, before you jump into the campaign. That's probably your best place to start.
Very, very cool. And everybody can find me at Joey Galvin's 1984. That's everywhere. And geekcollective.net. If you guys are looking for a Kickstarter to run a Kickstarter or to do any kind of thing within the comic book world, you guys can reach out to info at geekcollective.net. That is info GE. I almost like sounded it out. GeekCollective.net. And you can check out all the cool stuff that we got going on there. Benjamin Morse has been brought on to do some really cool stuff. He is available for cover work and then as well as trailer work. We're doing some really cool stuff. He just created the trailer for the new Band of Bards Kickstarter that is coming out called From the Static. So if you guys are looking to back From the Static all over again, they're bringing it back with some brand new covers. So you guys can head on over there and check that out. Just go to Kickstarter and type in Band of Bards, and that should pop right up. You can take a look at the video. That is one of the videos that we have created via Benjamin Morse. And if you guys are looking to do anything within the comic book world, which is concept to shelf, we will help you out with every single thing and everything in between. So let's get your comic book into the stores, man. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Blake, it's been a blast. Ben, it's always awesome to hang out with you, dude. Anything else you'd like to insert before we head out?
Not really. I think I want to just reiterate what you said just now is like, we are producing crowdfunded comics. We are looking at ways to get your comic like out to viewers, out to people that want to read the comic. And I think we want to make the crowdfunded comic experience as fun as going to a shop on Wednesday is. And that's what we're trying to do. So definitely follow us if you're into that. And I think you're going to see a lot of cool stuff if you do it.
Very cool.
And I really appreciate you guys having me on. And Joey, as someone who just started working with Geek Collective on this last campaign, I fully recommend to everybody, especially, if you're a creator that's looking to sort of take that next step. I think it's a great way to go from, just making your book to really sort of getting it out there and taking it to the next level. So thank you guys for everything that you do. And I'm excited to, just see where it goes.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
don't sleep on Territory, guys, because this one is so good. I'm serious. This is gonna be. This is when I talked to Blake for the first time about this. I was like, this looks like this is one of those like killer direct market books. So make sure you guys
Yeah.
are checking it out, and all that good stuff. Thank you,
Cool
guys.
comic. 4 days to go. Really colorful. Great comic. Definitely check it out.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, that's it. I think that's it for us this week. We may have some new episodes this midweek, but check back next Sunday for the next episode of Explain Yourself.